Welcome to the Deal Finder Corner. So this is your weekly property talk show brought to you by Property Filter, hosted by myself, Guillaume Black, your favorite Frenchman, the CEO and co-founder at Property Filter. It's the UK's highest rated platform to find deals. And we are on a mission to empower our property investor and deal sourcer members to find yet another 1,000 deal this year, like we did last year, thanks to the Property Filter blueprint. And the purpose with your Deal Finder Corner is really to give you more and the best of the available resources by inviting expert guests who will share with us the latest and most current strategies, tactics, and secrets about what actually works right now in terms of finding and making deals, and the reality of systemizing and running a high-performance business in property. So it really is my pleasure today to introduce to you my good friend, Stuart Scott today. So Stuart is a multi-award winning property developer, serial entrepreneur, and speaker. He won the highly prestigious 2019 UK Property Developer of the Year, and then again in 2018 Property Investor of the Year. These are on the UK Property Investor Awards, and for all the things he's been doing around these projects and the pioneering work he's been doing around the co-living and things like that in this country. And the co-living space also at the forefront of this whole co-living movement in the UK, inspiring many trends and many design and many projects, you've seen around case studies around the country, and changing really the landscape of HMOs and into those very desirable co-living place where people love to go and live. So also is a co-living revolution won best training company at the HMO Awards just a couple of years ago, and is a #1 Amazon bestseller with the co-living revolution, which I should get some signature and autograph from some days. So today, Stuart will cover with you the top 3 ways how you can spot opportunities where other people miss them, and this is how you can turn, just normal houses or normal projects into really lucrative HMOs. The #1 technique to get the deals to stack in the current market, and also the golden rules on how to leave less money in every HMO projects you do, so you can do more and more using momentum investing. And also, finally, how you can outperform your competition and create more profits in a very predictable way. So I'm very much looking forward to today's presentation with Stuart. So please give a massive Property Filter virtual welcome to Mr. Stuart Scott.
Hello guys, fantastic, brilliant, perfect, fantastic guys. Okay guys, so what I'm going to do is, because we've got an hour with you today, I'm going to try and get my presentation to about 45 minutes so that we've got time for Q&A, because I know a few of you could probably have some questions and various other things along the way. So today we're going to be focusing on co-living HMOs, and as I mentioned to Guillaume a minute ago, there's some fresh new content in here which is new for 2024, which I'm going to be sharing with you for the first time today. So we're going to be talking about accelerating your journey with co-living HMOs. So as Guillaume mentioned, my name is Stuart Scott. I'm based down in Brighton and Hove, so I am on the south coast. Now, the relevance of that is it is difficult to buy property in Brighton and Hove. It's a high capital area. I invest in low capital areas, low value, and also high capital. But it has forced me to get very good at adding value, which I will get to through the presentation. I headed up design and innovation teams. That is how I was able to create co-living in the UK, because my background was heading up innovation teams, and I pivoted into real estate many years ago. I started investing in 2010, and I am financially independent via property, which basically means I built a portfolio of multiple streams of income, including both, I'll take you through in a sec actually, but multiple streams of income coming through different types of property markets coming in. Okay, so I'll take you through that. So I have my buy-to-lets. So I did start with buy-to-lets. So I always added value. My co-living HMOs is my foundation. I do a lot of commercial conversions, mixed use, and I also have multiple apart hotels as well. So my apart hotels are diversification into short stay. So I have long stay HMOs, apart hotels, short stay. So I'm getting revenue from both short stay and long stay. And I've written the book Co-living Revolution, which is in Amazon, and then the awards that they mentioned before. So let's dive into some core content for you guys today. So what we're going to cover, firstly, we're going to be talking about why co-living HMOs. Why is it such a fantastic strategy? Because you guys are using Property Filter, you're looking at lots of different avenues to acquire property. So I'm going to talk to you today specifically about why co-living HMOs should be on your radar. Then we put a bit of a twist here on high interest rates. Okay, I know high interest rates have been causing you guys some serious problems when stacking and analyzing, but let's use them to our advantage, and I'll take you through that. And then we're going to be covering top 3 ways to spot opportunities that others miss in the market, and then about getting deals to stack. Now, I know that a lot of you are running numbers on deals, and with the interest rates, with inflation, it is getting harder to make the deals stack. we'll talk about how you can kind of get around that. And also in a competitive market, which let's be honest, we are always going to be in a competitive market. How can you get the strategic edge? How can you outperform that competition that's in the market? We are going to be covering that in this session today. So let's dive on in. So I want to make sure we've got plenty of time for Q&A for you guys. So why co-living HMOs? Well, I started with buy-to-lets. The HMOs have got far more margin in them. There's more profit, there's more cash flow, there's more margin, there's more ability to add value. Okay, so the reason we invest in HMOs is because they have the high margin. The banks have got the appetite to lend on them. Okay, that's the core reason you see people pivoting from buy-to-let market to the HMO market. So the reason I was attracted to the market, purely cash flow, black and white cash flow. That was the reason I noticed the market back when I started. And for those of you that are thinking of replacing your income, and it doesn't matter whether you're a developer, an investor, a business owner, many of the people that I speak to are either existing business owners that want another stream of income. You're going to want to replace your income with a portfolio, and you want to do that in as minimum time as possible. Now, if you did buy-to-lets, it would take you a while to do that. And of course, with the high interest rates, that's causing havoc because, of course, you've got stress testing that's not allowing you to refinance as much money out. So co-living HMOs, you can do it with a lot less properties. That was one of the fundamental principles that led me to co-living HMOs as part of what we were doing. Okay, so that's why we use co-living HMOs as a vehicle to be able to do that. Okay, so it's really about, it's not specific numbers I'm showing you on this spread, this slide that you're seeing here, but it's the proportion. It's the fact that you can create that, you can replace your income in a lot less properties. Now, one of the things that we've noticed more recently, certainly in the last 5 years, is that the market has changed a lot. Now, on this call today, I'm sure there's people that already have some HMOs. Some of you are maybe thinking of getting into HMOs. And the market is always changing. The most important thing to take away is that, you know, every single year the market's changing. It's always moving, it's always changing. Now, you could look at that and go, well, that's how is that relevant to me? It's like, well, at the end of the day, you're going to be putting a product onto market, and you're going to be crossing your fingers and hoping people are going to rent that product. Now, you want to make sure you've got the demand. And there's a really interesting report that's quite new that came out from Paragon. You guys have probably heard of Paragon. They're a lender, so a bit like Kent Reliance and Shawbrooks and all those lenders. So Paragon are one of the main lenders in HMOs, and they did a report. And what it's showing is that the market is starting to change. Tenant demand is starting to change. There was a survey that Paragon created recently that showed that 48% of landlords, 48%, had seen an increase in demand for high-end HMOs. Okay, so what's that telling you about the audience, the customers? The customers are demanding better quality. Okay, so the customer is demanding better quality. So Paragon is saying that almost going up to 50% of landlords are seeing a demand for high quality and high-end HMOs. So let's just break that down, because there was a big report, but I just want to give you I'm sure you guys just want the executive summary. You just want the bullets that came out of it. So the key things, the key takeaways from that report: ensuite bathrooms. Look, I know it's controversial. Do I build them? Do I not build them? It costs me £3,000 to put an ensuite in. Yeah, I get it. I get all the arguments, the cost you've got to put them in. But forget about the cost for now. From a purely customer perspective, they would rather have a private bathroom. Okay? So whether or not you put them in, that is a financial decision between you and your numbers, your spreadsheet, and your analysis and the whole deal analysis on the deal. Yeah. But from a client and a customer perspective, they would rather not share bathrooms. Okay. So I just wanted to kind of separate those two things. The financials of putting them in, that's where you have to get the deal to stack. But actually, whether the customer prefers it, well, the data is telling you this. They would rather have ensuite bathrooms. Okay. Now, the next thing should be fairly self-explanatory, but a lot of landlords might kind of scrimp on the internet. So again, just to give you a heads up, I, generally speaking, put business grade internet between 300 to 400 megabits. Okay, so I usually put in the HMOs 300 to 400 megabits business grade internet, and I also put access points across the whole building as well. So 100% signal everywhere in the building. The next part is quality furnishings. So again, coming out of this report, this is a brand new report from 2023. Tenants are expecting quality furnishings. What they mean by that is they mean a high quality product. So think of the interiors. Think of what Gillian mentioned, the foliage. The interiors, the space, the environment, everything that you do to go beyond paint and decorating upwards. That's the quality furnishings. Okay, so that's now important. And then there's one more I'm just going to add here. It's a little bit controversial. Larger bedrooms. Okay, larger bedrooms. Now, I've been saying for some time, which is your biggest bedrooms, your most expensive bedrooms will rent first. They will always rent first. The smallest ones, we call them the sticky ones because they hang around. Okay, they're the sticky ones because they're small. You know, I've got a 15 square meter one for you here, £100 more, or over here I've got another one that's about 8 square meters, but it's very difficult to get all your stuff in. Okay, so larger bedrooms. Now, that's coming from the customers, remember. What we can do as developers is look at the buildings, reconfigure the buildings, target the right kind of buildings to get the bigger bedrooms as part of what we're doing, okay? So this is some of the findings that have come out from this new report. They would prefer ensuite bathrooms. And if you are going to do shared bathrooms, try not to go above 2 to 1, 2 people to 1. I wouldn't go above that. I'd never go above that ratio, unless you're doing student HMOs. Doing student HMOs, no problem at all. So these are the 4 key things that came out of that report. So I don't just create HMOs, I create co-living HMOs, and they are made up of 3 key areas. Number 1, they are design-led, which means that we're investing in the social spaces, the quality furnishings, the en-suites, the amenities, the facilities, all those bits that are in there that creates the product. That is part of it being design-led. And actually, that's part of what I'm sharing with you today. I'm going to share with you the photo shoots and examples of how you can do that. Then you've got the community aspect, okay? And that's really where you are investing in community spaces, outdoor spaces, breakout spaces, all these additional areas, which I'm going to show you photos of in a minute. That you build into your space. You as a developer, you can do that. You can influence that. And finally, you've got the experience part. That's the lettings part where you have to partner with the right kind of letting agent that will provide that experience layer on there as well. And again, just a little top tip for everyone. If you are at the stage of replacing your income, I would say focus on the design-led part, creating the product, building community into the product first. And then when you've built your portfolio to a sufficient level, then consider bringing some of the experience part in-house. Okay. Obviously, you don't want to be going down the route of full self-management and trying to do all the lettings at the point where really you want to be using this period to be buying the assets and securing them while we've still got a buyer's market. So here's a little bit of a teaser before we get into the full photo shoots of just these are just some of the social spaces in our projects that are in East and West Sussex across the Southeast. Just a range of our different HMOs with different social spaces. But first thing you can see is that we have invested in creating a wow factor into the product. The product has the wow factor, and you know it's areas where you want to hang out, you want to spend time in. As part of creating co-living HMOs, you know, if you are starting your journey, I would recommend starting with the C3 residential, converting it to C4 HMO, okay? And in a minute, I'll give you some examples of how you can do that with Property Filter. So C3 residential, standard houses, into C4 HMO, up to 6 people. Now remember, you are not in an Article 4 area. You can do that under permitted development, okay? So if it's your first HMO, I would strongly recommend maybe not being an Article 4 for your first HMO, unless it's an existing HMO. And then if you've got some more appetite, I would recommend sui generis. That's 7 or more people. Okay, so we can do our smaller ones up to 6 people. Then we've got our sui generis HMOs, 7 or more people. And one of my favorites, mixed use. Okay, this is where we're doing multiple different units in the building. bit of commercial, several apartments, plus also a HMO in the mix as well. So multiple revenue streams from a single building that we're creating, okay? So there are lots of different scales of co-living HMOs and how you can create them and how you can develop them. So I always recommend that, or mostly you go left to right. Most people will do up to 6 bedders. Then what they'll do is they'll move into the world of sui generis. And then once they work on that kind of sweet spot of, I don't know, 7 to 10 people or 7 to 15 people, whatever size you have an appetite for, then you might move into commercial conversions. Okay. So every single, you will go through that at your own pace or however you want. When I'm working with people, that I always recommend that I'm teaching them how to do both. Okay. Even if you are planning to mainly do 6-bed HMOs, I still teach people how to do commercial, because at some point you're going to end up on the high street and you're going to look at shops with uppers, and you want to know how to stack it and how to analyze it and how to make it work. Okay. So really, this is kind of like the progression that you work through. Now, one of the key things to mention at this stage is that the market, we've seen from that report, the Paragon report has shown how the market is changing. The absolute worst thing that you can do is stand still. Okay. I think we just have to accept that in a competitive market, you need to keep up with the market. You need to transform. You need to keep evolving your product, or you will be outpaced. The market's moving, but you guys are here. You're using Property Filter. You're educating yourself so that you've got the edge in the market. And this is all about the edge in the market. Okay. As long as you maintain the edge in the market, you are always going to be operating in that top tier. So let's talk about interest rates. I know it's a bit of an unusual subject to bring up. I don't want to do too much doom and gloom on this one, but let's think about this for a minute, because this can work to your advantage. Now, interest rates have gone up. Everyone knows that they've gone up over the period. None of us have been happy about it particularly, and I'm sure some of us were doing. Certainly, I was doing refinances during Liz Truss's disastrous thing that she did. Anyway, so when the interest rates went up, confidence went down. Now, confidence in the market started dropping down. So that confidence in the market went down. Lots of people, standing on the sidelines, not really doing anything. So really, we've been in a situation where the interest rates have gone up and the confidence has really dropped down. You probably noticed there's less stock on the market. There's less stock out there. And in fact, actually, there's people on the sidelines. People aren't sure whether they want to buy or not, whether trying to time the market, because that confidence is gone. Now, at some point soon, interest rates will start to come down. Now, they're not going to come down to where they were before. I think we've all accepted that. I think we've all come to terms with the fact they're not going to go back down to that wonderful world of really low mortgages we had before, but they're going to start coming down. Can anyone guess? Actually, I'll ask you, Gillian, what's going to happen? What do you think is the next thing that's going to happen to confidence when that starts coming down?
Everyone will jump back on the bandwagon, and everybody will want to go and buy properties again, and we'll move from this buyer market to this seller market.
Exactly. That confidence is going to start bouncing back up in this direction here. Okay. So when those interest rates stop dropping down, confidence is going to start to go down that way. So again, coming back to what you just mentioned there, Gillian, we are in the peak pain. I call it the peak pain point. Okay. I know it can be painful, but remember, we know what's likely to happen. We know that interest rates are going to come down. They're not going to come down as far as they were before, but we appreciate where we are. So a lot of people will wait on the sidelines and wait for that interest rates to start dropping down, which might be, I don't know, end of 24, some point around then. Now, remember, we are in the peak pain point. If you're going to negotiate in a buyer's market, now is the time, because guess what's going to happen? As Gilliam's just mentioned, that confidence comes back. Everyone's back in again. Okay, so we are in this period of peak pain. And as Gilliam said there, we are in a buyer's market at the moment. We do not know how long we've got. If you ask my opinion, I reckon we've probably got 2024. But by 2025, I reckon that confidence is going to start flooding back in. So that gives us this year, 2024. This is a perfect year when there's still a bit of uncertainty. There's still pain in the market. This is the time to negotiate the stuff that's out there. Okay. So what we're also going to see as part of this market at the moment is the fact that a lot of buy-to-lets and the lower yielding strategies, they don't stack with the interest rates. The smaller projects don't stack because of the refurb costs and the interest rates that are there as well. So getting deals to stack is harder. You've got to be looking at high yielding projects to be able to do that. Co-living HMOs have two key things which really kind of buck that trend. Number one, they're high margin. Co-living HMO projects are high margin. So yes, the high interest rates are eating some of your profit. That's absolutely true. But remember, you're weathering the storm. Okay, you're buying in peak pain, locking in the asset in peak pain, because you're going to hold this asset for decades. You're going to be renting it for decades. So co-living HMOs offer you a high margin, a high cash flow. And secondly, bank appetite. Okay, bank appetite for buy-to-lets is not as strong as it was because of the stress testing and everything else. But co-living HMOs, bank appetite for it and the high margins. Okay, so we don't know how long we've got, but there's a few things that we should certainly take advantage of in 2024. Firstly, use Property Filter to target motivated sellers. Now, this is one of the key things that Gideon pretty much shows everyone when they first start using the system. I think it's called the back and reduced and reduced. There's three key areas that are showing that's motivation. So straight away, you are highlighting motivated people that are in the market. Most of the stuff I've bought is because it's fallen through. So we can target those people that are more motivated in there. We also want to identify the sales that have fallen through, and that will lead us to being able to negotiate some offers with them. Okay, we can negotiate further deals with those particular people. Now, I've managed to negotiate some very large discounts in the last few years as a result of it being a buyer's market. I doubt I will be able to negotiate such large discounts in 2025. So we have this period of time in 2024 to really make it count. And yes, I appreciate that your cash flow is taking a hit in 2024 when you refinance. But remember, you're talking about your cash flow for the next 20, 30 years. So the fact that the next couple of years might have a margin of cash flow off them, that doesn't really matter. It's about making sure your deal stacks now and it is in a good location for the next few decades as well. So that's on the interest rate side of things. So I want to kind of talk you through some of the kind of top opportunities of ways that you can spot deals that other people miss in the market. Now, there's a few different ways that I use Property Filter, but one of the things that I would recommend to you is there's two key areas when we're looking at buildings. Number one is you are looking for sites to maximize. Okay, now maximizing means using what you've got within the space. So, for example, and you might need to make a note of this, is use Property Filter to look for buildings with large square meterage. Okay, this is about the volume. Okay. So there's a few different ways that the Property Filter does it. You can obviously filter by square meterage. Equally, there's a thing called filter in the sort by large surface area. Okay, so you're looking at buildings with a large surface area. Straight away, you look at the buildings that are just disproportionately larger to the other buildings. Or you can actually filter by buildings over a certain square meterage. So the reason that is important is because they already have square meterage. And then you can internally reconfigure them to maximize the space you already have without paying to extend anything else. Okay, so that is maximizing. So number one, first thing we want to do is we want to maximize the units that are there in the building we've got. And some of my best deals have been ones where I didn't even need to extend because I maximized the buildings. And then look for sites with ability to expand. So if you've got Property Filter open, you found your site, you're looking at it, I'd strongly recommend in your right-hand screen, if you've got a second screen or the side of your screen, I'd recommend having Google Maps open. And when you basically are looking at a site, you have Google Maps open to the side, and then you put it into 3D mode, you go around the building and you look for opportunities to expand the footprint of the building. Check the loft, check the side, check the back, look for any option to expand. So a combination of maximize your space, use Property Filter to find buildings with larger square meterage, and then also use Google Maps to check for opportunities for expansion as well. Okay, they are one of the best ways to quickly assess your buildings. Then the next thing is to use Property Filter to search for a wider range of building types. So for example, most people I know who are looking in one building type will be looking specifically in residential, which is fine, because we can use Property Filters specifically in residential. However, I would recommend that when you're using Property Filter, you are also simultaneously running the same searches in the same areas and patches, because remember, the way that Property Filter works, it works in postcodes and patches. So you can set up very targeted patches. So I would recommend also simultaneously looking in both residential and commercial. You will need to set up 2 filters, but that's fine. You've got some certain target areas and target zones. Target the residential, but always target the commercial as well. And there's a very strong reason for this. And the reason is the output is the same. Okay, so if Gilliam goes and finds a 3-bed house and turns it into a 7-bed co-living HMO, or Gilliam goes down the high street and finds a shops with uppers in an outer area that he turns into a 7-bed HMO, what's the difference? The output's the same. Okay, so as developers, we just get good at finding buildings of any sort to convert into the output that we want. Okay, so whether you're resi or commercial, your output is exactly the same. Okay, so again, when you're setting up a property filter, double up your filters in commercial and resi and look at both types. A third way that I also recommend when using property filter is to also list all the existing landlords selling. So again, slightly different. It's another filter, I know, but this is the reason that Gilliam's software lists all these different filter types. Again, if you're in a patch, certain area, you then want to do existing HMOs. Okay, so these are already HMOs. And I know what you're thinking. If I do it, why do I'm searching for existing HMOs? I can't add any value. There are lots of ways you can add value to these buildings. So you could, for example, get buy-to-lets that are well, actually, they wouldn't come up on your HMO filter, but existing HMOs and large HMOs would come up on the specific property filter. Now, on these buildings, we can look at the buildings, we can look at ways to maximize them, which are internally reconfigure. We can then look at the ways to expand them, to add value to them, and we can increase the number of units, rooms, expand, and product as well. And maybe in many cases, move it for a different evaluation model to a heavily adapted investment yield-based calculated investment model, which would mean your valuation could be a lot higher as well. Okay, so again, you do want that filter on as well. So that's top 3 ways to be able to find those leads. In the current market, one of the best ways to make the deal stack or comes down to one golden rule I always share. Always add value to every single project you do. Okay, so every project you do, you've got to add value to it. So I'm just going to give you a few, I'm going to hit off a few kind of top ones that kind of stand out from the list that I do. Number 1, remedials. Finding buildings that are probate, run down, that need what's called remedial work. Okay, so you want to be able to deal with the remedial work. You want to optimize the building. Okay, so optimize and maximize the space that you have in that building. Okay, so you want to reconfigure that building. As I mentioned, using property filter to find big or large square meterage buildings, filter by the square meterage buildings. Then opportunities to extend. Okay, you're looking and trying to target buildings where you can add square meterage beyond the existing square meterage. Okay, so we're looking to add that value. Then we're looking for other opportunities for change of use, because if you are running the filters for commercial and other buildings, remember, you can do a change of use, whether it's from C3 to C4, or whether or not you're going from Class E or commercial across into HMO or sui generis, change of use. Okay, you can add value through that change of use. Then, of course, you've got size and scale. I showed you that diagram earlier on. You can be doing the 6-bedders, the sui generis, or, for example, mixed use. And your movement between those sizes and the decision of what you do with those sizes affects a whole range of things, from cash flow to the valuation model on the building. Valuation, again, the movement, how you can move between either a bricks and mortar or an investment valuation becomes really powerful. Planning permission. So if you put planning permission in on the building, depending on what it is. And finally, high-end finish. Remember that report from Paragon talking about high-quality furnishings and the end finish? So these are all ways that you can add significant value to what you're doing as part of the project. Okay, so it's just the high-level view, but there are lots of ways to add value. And in the current market, again, You are weathering the interest rates. We've got to remember you're doing that with the deals you're looking at. So you've got to add significant value to the projects you do. Okay. So it just means that in a way, it's good that it's difficult, because when it's this, when I grew up in Brighton and Hove and I started in property, I had no choice. I had to get very, very good at adding value. Okay. I had no choice. And so like the minute you do it in a cheaper area, it's brilliant. You get a huge uplift, but it's just a really good skill, developer's skill, to add maximum value into whatever you do. So again, talking about that value and that recycling, I'm going to make a wild assumption here that most of the people in this webinar don't really want to leave massive chunks of money in every deal. Okay, I'm just taking a wild guess, but I'm guessing you probably don't. So depending on the level of works, and here's just 3 examples. Here's a project over here where, if I told you I recycled 56% of my money, a lot of you would probably go, yeah, that's pretty cool. Over half your money's coming out. Some of it's left in, some of it's coming out. Okay, well, that equated in that project to £75,000 left in the deal. Okay, now I'll show you the numbers in a little while. So I'm going to end up showing you the product, then I'll show you the other half of this calculation, the actual deal. Okay, so think about that perspective. I've recycled half my money, 75 grand's left in. Project number 2, I recycled 75% of my money. Oh, this is getting better. Now 75% of all my original money has come out. I've only got £46,000 left in that deal. This one here, next project, commercial conversion, nearly all my money out, and only £16,000 left in the deal. Okay, different levels of recycling, and they are based on key adding value. Each one of them has a different level of value added and a different scale of project, and that has dictated the amount of money left in the deal. Okay, so I'll get to that in a minute. So how can you outperform the competition? Because there's going to be a hell of a lot of competition out there. So coming back to what we mentioned earlier on about co-living HMOs, you have to deliver a high quality product to the market. Now, I showed you this earlier on. I just want to refresh your memory on that again. This is what's coming out from the reports from tenants, back from landlords, okay, from Paragon, and from the reports that are out there. They want a range of the larger bedrooms, the en-suites, the quality furnishings. So I'm going to just take you through some photos of projects of ours. These are our projects. Some of the photos I've never shared before. And actually, I've dug out a few before and afters, because I know you guys like to see the mess before it actually turns into the actual finished product. So this was a commercial conversion, commercial to residential. We converted it in the high street. It's now an 8-bed sui generis HMO. So this is the before shot where you can see the door in the corner. So the door right ahead in the middle, that is the original front door. And so the door is no longer there anymore. It's all been blocked up, and this is what we converted it into. Okay, so this was about 25 square meters of social space. So if I just pivot round, there you go, see it the other way around. So this is about 25 square meters of social space that's in here, part of an 8-bed sui generis. There's multiple ovens. There's 4 ovens, 8 hobs. There's larder units, plenty of refrigeration and storage that's in there. So this basically, we've deliberately designed it with a central kitchen island. It's got sofa seating around the outside, larder units for storage. So we've built all of that into the space. So it's just an example of transforming a social space. Here's another one. Again, I've dug out, I don't know where, I've had to dig through some serious amounts of photos to find these early shots. But this is a C3 house, okay, standard C3 house to a C4 6-bed HMO. This was the state and condition of us stripping it back. You notice the chimney breast has been taken out on the right, and that's what it was converted into. Okay, so this was the social space down on the ground floor. Lots of bespoke elements that were kind of built in, even a little bit of foliage of Galena's favourite there on the right side. Not too much of it, just a little bit there. And then if you go upstairs, we've got another social space for another HMO, because there's 2 HMOs in the building. So if I go up a level above this, I've got one of my favorite ones with the shipping container in. Again, this is another little social space for another HMO that's above. So you effectively have 2 HMOs in one single building. And then it's another example of where we took a building, stripped it back, started to kind of converted it. So this was a C3 apartment. This is a maisonette, by the way. And this is in central Brighton and Hove, where we then took that and then we converted it into this. This was actually quite a recent, we just done a recent refresh on this one. So we've just converted this one in the last 6 months, I think it was. Okay, so you got a central area there. If I just pivot around, you can see you kind of got your central island. So again, this is all under kind of social spaces. Here's another example of a C3 house that we converted into C4 HMO, stripped it all back, and then converted that into this space here. Again, so there's main social space in there. Okay, so again, plenty of dining space that we're building in, plenty of social space that we're building in. So again, coming back to the findings, we wanted to kind of tie into, like, the social space is hugely important. Okay, we need dining space in there, all of the amenity space that's in there, the cooking, the refrigeration, everything else is all built in. Now, there was another little bit of data that I didn't fit on that diagram earlier on, and it was this one, that 35% of landlords also noted that tenants want workspace. Now, they're not saying dedicated co-working. So don't panic. You don't have to build an entire co-working unit to your building. But what they are saying is workspace in the building. So here's a few examples of where we've built workspace in. So this was one of our rooms on one of our recent developments where we converted that, and then we built this into the space here, and we have the workspace built into the bedroom. Okay, so number one, where you can build workspace into bedrooms. Pretty low cost, easy way for you as a landlord to build it into the space. Okay, so that's the easiest way to do it. Number two, you can build private workstation pods. This is what we've done in our hallways and rooms, or unhabitable size rooms. Lots of different ways that we've built these pods. You can see here, they're about 1.5 meters wide, and we built these into little spaces. Or alternatively, dedicated co-working spaces, or larger social spaces, or multi-use spaces. So again, we have different ranges of ways that you can build workspace in. We've also got what's called breakout spaces. Breakout spaces are where, and again, I found you a before and after shot here. So this was a rather unloved single skin brick extension, and we stripped it out, and then we converted it into this, which is a little kind of a little TV room that we built as an extension on the back. Okay, so again, we transformed the space. Here's another example where we've basically taken areas within buildings that are just oversized hallways, and we've converted them into breakout spaces. And also on such spaces, we've got the outdoor, because a lot of people forget about the exterior space. Now, it is a little bit of a low resolution picture, but I wanted to show you a before and after. This was the best shot I could find. It's just a bit blurry. So this was the garden of the space that we found when we bought it, and it was just a bit overgrown everywhere. And we took this space and we transformed it into this. Okay, this was the final product. So, and again, we haven't done hard landscaping. We haven't spent a fortune on landscaping to do this. So we transformed it. We've put the seating areas, we put the dining areas in, we put the barbecue zone in there as well. So we built all of that in. And again, just to show you how on another one, this is in a different town and city to the previous one, but again, transform the outside. So it's very, very important to kind of like try and build that into what you're creating. And then in the bedrooms, just want to give you an example, a few of the bedroom spaces. On the sui generis HMO, I showed you an example in a minute. This was one of the top bedrooms at the top. Again, building in the comfort factor, putting in, actually, ironically, that wall that you can see at the far end looks like distressed concrete. Ironically, it was distressed concrete. We plastered it, we fixed it, we painted it, and then we put distressed concrete wallpaper over the top, which is a rather crazy thing to do, really, in retrospect. But anyway, we couldn't leave it in its original state. But ironically, that's how it started life, and it's just ended up back there. That's all. So this just shows you an example. And again, thinking about the quality of the size of the rooms. Do you remember that Paragon report? Bigger bedrooms. Most of our rooms, I don't tend to have anything now, or certainly the new stock anyway, that we've been doing the last 4, 5, 6 years. I don't have anything below about 9 square meters. That for me, the perfect sweet spot is somewhere around 9, all the way up to usually about 20 square meters and everything in between. That's really where you want to be. Ideally, you know, if you're going to put an ensuite in and get left with a 7 square meter room, you're going to have one hell of a pokey room there. Okay, so you just need to think about different ways to reconfigure that. And there might be some clever ways to nick bits of other rooms and stuff to maintain the room size. So here's a few examples. Another one of our larger 15 square meter rooms you've got here, where you've got the private workstation pod that's built in. And then here's an example of a smaller room. This is actually a 10 square meter room. It's only half of it. You're only standing in the middle, looking in one direction. And the other way, you've got all the storage, the wardrobe, and everything else. So even though you've got a small room, you can densely pack in a lot of the design features and the storage into there as well. And then bathrooms, again, just want to give you a sample of the quality of the bathrooms we put in. These are some of our en suites that we put in there. We try and maximize the shower trays if we can. We put vanities in with decent levels of storage in. Okay, so we kind of build that into what we're doing. So again, just talk about some of the numbers relating to the product side of things. Rudy, who we worked with, she's one of our masterminders. She went through our 6-month program where we help masterminders create their own. She created her very first co-living HMO property. And I think it was in Luton. I think it was Essex or Luton. And she outperformed the market on her she's in her 20s, in her very first HMO by 27%. How good's that? In her local market, completely outperformed the market. Broke some of the rental ceilings while she was there. Fantastic. And that's the photos. You can see some of her photos from her projects that are done there. So generally, we see with co-living HMOs that you can outperform the market, the vanilla HMO market, by 20 to 30%. Now, remember, that's not just 20, 30% in your back pocket for cash flow. I mean, it is technically, but that's not the only factor here, because that cash flow will help inform the performance of your asset and potentially the valuation of your asset. So think of that. Think of that sui generis where I showed you. Okay, the sui generis HMO that is valued on a multiplier of its gross income minus discounts. Now, if your gross income is higher because you are outperforming everything by 20 to 30%, that's just made your valuation model higher, and now you're leaving less money in the deal. Okay, so they all connects together. So let's go back to those numbers I showed you a minute ago. Okay, this was the first project. 56% of my money recycled. £75,000 left in that deal. Let's have a look at how it actually performs. Okay, the cash flow per annum is 19,410. The per calendar month, it kicks off after all costs, management and everything, 1,617. And it gives me a 26% ROI. Would you do that, Gilliam?
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, 26% ROI is kicking off just under 20,000 net a year. Yeah, so it's, I'm recycling 56% of my funds. So again, when you're trying to work out whether you're happy to leave some money in there, think about the performance of the money it's kicking off. Let's look at project number 2. Recycling 75%. Okay, I'm recycling a lot less money here. They've only got 25% left in the deal, which is 46,000. This is cash flowing 24,400 a year, which means it's kicking out over 2,000 net, and it's an ROI of 52%. Okay, so in some respects, do you mind leaving £50,000 in a deal that's kicking out over 20,000? No, absolutely not, because my money's coming out through cash flow, or in that particular location, I can tell you that in a few years it did double-digit capital appreciation. So put it this way: if the money wasn't coming out through cash flow, in the next refinance, it was coming out through the refinance. So either way, the money was coming out. So don't be afraid of leaving money in the deal. Doesn't matter. Now, I appreciate that some of you want to get even more money out of the deal, so I thought I have to show you a commercial conversion as part of this, because I need to show you the other end of the spectrum, because we do a lot of these. This is where, and I just want to kind of highlight this, because these are commercial conversions, there's more risk. Okay, we are doing more planning permission and doing prior approvals and various other things. So there's more risk in the projects. But this building cash flows 26,000. Remember, because it's an 8-bed, which is again over 2,000 net. But all the money is out in the first half of the year. Okay, so I have none of my original money in there. Original money in the deal. Okay, so 3 different levels of deals I'm showing you here, all with different levels of recycling, all with different levels of ROIs, and they are all also aligned to that diagram I showed you earlier on. Whether you're doing standard kind of 6-bed HMOs, whether you're doing sui generis, or whether you're doing commercial conversions and mixed use. Okay, different levels of risk, and this is why I teach people all of these types. It's really important. Even if you're only looking at the one on the left, you still need to be aware of stacking and analyzing the ones on the right, because you never know when these deals are going to come along. And, it's very important that you know how to stack and analyze a shops with uppers, something on the high street, because really at the end of the day, as we said earlier on, the output is exactly the same. So over the years that I've been developing co-living HMOs, I actually looked at co-living HMOs in a slightly different way. Now, some of you might be thinking that obviously there's bits that you would have to learn to be able to do them, but I just want to give you a slightly different perspective on a few of these slides of ways that I've now looked at co-living HMOs. I actually look at it as mitigating risk. Okay, so there's two areas to mitigate risk. Number one, the development. So using Property Filter, Gilliam software, that would be the acquisition and the development. That's the development side. And then you've got ongoing, holding it long term. So co-living HMOs, the way that I mitigate risk on development is I add value. They have the ability to add value, which is great in the current market because you want to be able to prove that you can add value and actually have a tangible outcome on that with the rents so that you can actually, that can perform into valuations and everything else. So we have the ability to add the value in the buildings. We can maximize the income. Okay, so by creating a product, we can outperform everything else by 20 to 30%, which is fantastic. So we can maximize the income on the building. And finally, we can maximize the valuations. We have the ability as developers to add that value and maximize income and valuations. So for me, that is me mitigating risk. That gives you an ability as a developer to mitigate that risk. So that's the development side. Okay, so we can mitigate in 3 ways there our risk on the development side by doing high quality HMOs as a strategy. If you are running the operations, sorry, not if you're running the operations, but after you have developed your property and you are renting it for the next 20, 30 years, because I'm going to assume that if you use Property Filter, found your property, finished it, delivered it to market, put it on your market, sit back, that's everything for operations onwards, even if you use a letting agent, by the way. Okay, so imagine you've got a letting agent there as well. But if you have a high quality HMO, so a co-living HMO, you're going to be assuring high demand. Okay, you don't want a risk. You certainly don't want it becoming a liability. Okay, a vanilla HMO in the middle of a lot of competition becomes a liability. Okay, you don't want to be paying anything for it. The whole point you got into HMOs was for cash flow. So you want to ensure high demand. That's one of the ways you mitigate risk. Secondly, co-living HMOs allow you to achieve higher rents. Now, if you're up in the top tier of the rents, even if we get a Labour government, and I don't want to get into a subject about whether or not it's Labour or not, but I think we all can see there's some big changes probably likely to happen. But even if a Labour government comes in, and even if there's any form of rent controls in the future, if you are operating in the top tier of rent, even if you have to move by inflation, as long as you are operating in the top tier, you can always track upwards, okay? Because you are operating in that top tier. You are not locked down here in the vanilla level. You are already operating in the premium level. So we have the ability to mitigate risk through achieving those high rents. And finally, we can drive high occupancy because the product you create, the community spaces you create, people want to live there longer. Okay, so on one hand, it's the product drives people in. They want to live there. But if you get the usability right, if you learn how to create the spaces, you can drive occupancy, which means people stay there longer. You get less churn. You get less people moving out. So really, a lot of what I've been sharing with you today is about you getting a competitive advantage in the market, okay? And really, that ties into 2024, okay? Because 2024 is going to be a fantastic buying opportunity that's in the market, okay? You've got tech you can use. Gilliam's here with his tech so that you can use that to find these leads. But you guys out there in the trenches looking for this stuff in 2024, you need a competitive edge that's in the market. And that's really what I've been sharing with you today. So some key takeaways from today's presentation. Number one, you can generate more cash flow from co-living HMOs, okay? They've got the ability to kick off a lot more cash flow. I've shown you examples of all the different stages from C3 to C4, sui generis and mixed use, okay? So these buildings, they can kick off more cash flow and replace your income faster. Secondly, utilize this time. Honestly, 2024, we just don't know how long we've got. You know, we don't have the luxury of time. So use 2024. If you want to be out there, if you're thinking about moving into a new market, you were thinking about a new city, you were thinking of trying, do it this year. Make sure you put if you're going to go direct to vendor, if you're going to start using Property Filter to start targeting those locations and start putting some cheeky offers in, do it this year. Get those offers out this year. Also, if you're only looking at one property type, I would strongly recommend that with Property Filter, you start expanding the property types as well. Again, when we're working with people, I'd consider both residential and commercial. Always add value to every project you do. Because remember, you are weathering the interest rates right now. You're weathering the interest rates, and you can do that through higher cash flow and adding value. And finally, deliver a high quality product to the market as part of what you're doing. Again, don't deliver a vanilla one in the middle of the market right now, because frankly, I mean, you've only got to look at the report from Paragon to know that you do not want to be dropping a vanilla product onto market right now. Okay. You will go to bottom of the list straight away. Okay. And that's not what you want after you've spent all of your hard-earned money on developing out that property and dropping it onto the market. So that anybody can learn how to create co-living HMOs. I've just got a few examples. This is a guy I worked with he's actually a builder, and he decided to get into creating his first co-living HMO. We helped him. He was part of our training. We helped him create his first co-living HMO. You probably spotted some of the inspiration in his shots there. And all of his rooms rented at higher than levels than he wanted, and his building was valued £50,000 more than his target GDV or end value on his spreadsheet, which is fantastic. So we helped Jamie create his first co-living HMO, and also Richard and Ben created their first co-living HMO, and we helped them create their product so that they could create their social spaces, outdoor barbecue spaces, and all this so that they could outperform in their local area as well. Now, you guys have got a very special offer today. Gilliam has organized something very special. In fact, no one has had this offer yet, so you guys are getting it first today. We have 3 discovery days coming up. Okay, so we have 3 discovery days coming up. Sunday, the 18th of Feb, Sunday, 24th of March, and Sunday, the 21st of April. These events are on Zoom, so it doesn't matter where in the UK you are. You can log in. It's from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. and you can immerse yourself in co-living HMOs for the day. Okay, so we run this several times a year. Last year and the year before, they were fully sold out. So we've just released these dates. You guys are the first to be offered these dates. So we've got Sunday, 18th of Feb, 24th of March, 21st of April. These events are rated 9.4 out of 10. So these are world-class level of content we're producing. And also, I'm going to take you through the 4 sessions and the offer that Gilliam's organized for you guys. So session 1, if you're thinking of coding HMOs, is all about finding and converting residential and commercial leads. Okay, so we're going to talk through the model on the day. I know that you want some top tips around finding and stacking and analyzing these leads. We're going to be covering that. We're also going to be covering adding value and recycling more cash, the BRR model. We're going to cover planning and licensing, and also funding your deals and working with private investors. So really, session 1 is all about finding and converting both residential and commercial buildings. Okay, so we're kind of more of a deep dive into that in session 1. So once we then have covered finding, stacking, and analyzing and the planning side of things, we then move to the design side. Now, we know that a lot of people want to see the floor plans. You want to see the schematics. You want to know how to convert the spaces, how to optimize the spaces. So session 2, we're going to deep dive into space design so that you guys can go out there, look at stuff that's on Rightmove, look at stuff that's through Property Filter. One of the first pages you should always go to on Property Filter is go and have a look at that floor plan and work out how you can reconfigure the space. And that's what we do in this session here. So that's very much on design. Then session 3, we do a deal clinic. So imagine you have found one on Property Filter. You can submit your ideas or your floor plans into our deal clinic, and we will have a look. We've selected a certain number of them, and we'll have a look at some floor plans together. Okay, so if you're out there finding stuff on Property Filter, you can submit stuff into our deal clinic and we'll look at some of those leads for you. Okay, so we do a bit of a demo of a deal clinic in session 3. And finally, session 4, we start to give you a bit of an overview of the importance of you building out a professional brand, building that community within the space, how you can create the operations and systems to build that out. We also cover rent to rent and that as well. So this is really like the one part is kind of like finding the deals, analyzing them and converting them and adding the value, recycling your cash. The other part is then the space design and then moving down across into operations and systemization as well. Okay, so we've got a pretty feature-packed day from 10 till 4 p.m. Now, this is the offer that Gilliam has arranged for all of you guys. So I'll be delivering the day. We'll cover all of the business model introduction, how to get started, all the top techniques on finding deals, space design. We'll do the interactive deal clinic and the Q&A. However, what Gilliam has arranged for you guys is we've got something a little bit different here. I'm not selling tickets in the traditional sense today because we've actually organized something very special for you. We've actually got a bit of a competition for you today. So we have a competition where we have a certain amount of golden tickets. And those golden tickets are full VIP tickets for our Discovery Day. Okay. Full VIP access to the Discovery Day for free of charge. Okay. We have a certain number of you that take action, that if you take action today, there's a certain number you will get those. And then we've also got a selected number of £150 off vouchers. Okay. So basically, everybody today is going to win something. Okay. You're either going to get a £150 voucher or you're going to get a golden ticket by taking action today. So Gilliam has, and this, like I say, this is the first time we have offered this. You guys today have got the first golden tickets and the first vouchers that we're going to be giving out. Okay. So that's the competition. Now you will have a choice of 3 dates. So regardless of whether you win a voucher for £150 off or you win a golden ticket, when you click through, you will have the choice of any of those 3 dates that you can choose from. Okay. So if you want to come along on February, March, April, you can choose any of those days. And if you do want to change one later, contact us, we'll change it for you. So normally, these are £247 plus VAT. This is on our website at the moment for £247 plus VAT. Gilliam's arranged some of you are going to get the vouchers of £150 off, which would take that all the way down. Or alternatively, of course, there's going to be the golden ticket. So let me just give you the URL there. This is the URL. Those of you that take action quickly, those golden tickets are going to be in your back pocket. Okay, so there you go. That is literally the first time this link has gone live. First people that are in there, the golden tickets are there for you. Okay, so if you use that,
can you share it in the chat, Stuart?
Yeah, what I'll do is I'll just come off there. I'll just put it in there. Copy.
Yeah, so
I'm just going to put it in the chat to everyone. And also, if anyone's on there while you're in the chat, if you could be really cool if you have got golden tickets, type in got golden ticket or got voucher. That'd be really cool to see who's managed to get that to work. Okay, so remember when you click through, you've got a choice of the dates. Okay, so when you've got the choice of the dates, you will be able to choose those dates that you want. But equally, you will also be able to, if you want to change them later, don't worry. Don't think, oh, actually, I chose that date, but I want to switch it. Can everyone? Hey, Graham's got his golden ticket. Graham, you are off to a good start. Graham is in there. He's got his first golden ticket's gone out. Really well, Jane. Oh, Rimmel's just got a golden ticket. Well done. But guys, look, if you're taking action today, you're in there. There's a certain pot that Gilliam's arranged for you guys. Gary's in as well. Fantastic. Brilliant. Look.
Basically, we've arranged for the first amount of you guys to get it for free. Basically, that was the the deal we had with Stuart. So there's not enough free tickets for everybody on the call today. But basically, if that's something that you're interested in, just come and book. And I would say, like, this is a very valuable thing. Don't book because it's free. Like, book because it's something you want to do. And then value this time we sort of gifted today, and value the time you're being gifted for a full day with Stuart and the team. So
exactly. Yep.
So we'll see when we stop to get the messages that, oh, I didn't get a golden ticket anymore, and then
exactly it will switch. It will automatically switch after a certain number of people to the like the £150 vouchers, which either way is everyone's going to get, oh, look, it's coming in. Jane's in, Greg's in. Well done, guys. Taking action. Yay. Karen's in, Hayden's in. Look at this, all this action taking.
And yeah, thanks a lot for arranging this, Stuart. And thanks a lot for today's content. So really interesting that the lenders are getting interested into this, Paragon putting all this stats, around the co-living HMOs and what people want, the experience, the quality finishing and larger rooms and all these things. And I really like the things that you add around the external workspace, breakout rooms, outdoors. That's really, really good. And a lot of people might be thinking, well, like, it's all nice and good, but bigger properties cost more, Stuart, so how can you afford to have like some empty desks, where you could have, other things? How does that?
So when you say empty desk, you mean that's why you mean co-working, yeah?
Yeah, the co-working desk in the corridors, but it's just to maybe it's to help people understand that these are lost spaces anyway.
Exactly.
You've got a large hallway that are maybe 2 meter deep. You don't really need this. instead of moving your staircase to maybe to have a cupboard or something, you might as well use the space creatively to bring this co-working place on other breakout rooms. But I don't know if you can comment a bit more about that size, because people might believe, well, my properties are not big enough, or these are too expensive.
Yeah, let's just take an example, Gilliam. So, for example, if you just take a standard three-bed terrace house. Let's take a standard terrace house. You convert that to a 6-bed HMO. You're probably going to have what, 3-4 really, really good sized rooms and maybe a couple of pokey ones. Nearly always, not the case. You don't get all.
Yeah.
You might have a few smaller ones in there, which creatively, and then so let's just take that as an example. So if you wanted workspace in there, you probably can't dedicate a room to it. So straight away, that's out. You're not going to be able to do that because you'll never make the numbers stack. So, and your hallways might not be big enough either. So let's just take a worst case scenario, Gilliam. So you don't have a massive hallway, and you don't have any rooms or uninhabitable rooms you can use. Okay, so there's three ways that we could get more workspace. Number one, put them in the bedroom.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a quick win straight away. Number two, when you do your social space, I've given everyone the inspiration today of some amazing social spaces that you can create. If you create a really great social space, guess what? You've just created a co-working space during the day. Okay, so that's number two. You make your social space a really great space to be able to work from during the day. So that's number two. Number three, how big's your garden? Okay, because if you've got a larger garden but you have no space inside, put a little insulated log, like a little.
Easy for you in Brighton, but
yeah, well, yeah, yeah. So
it's a lot sunnier than people make it this country. I can vouch for it. The French guy can confirm it's not as bad as the reputation.
Yeah. So yeah, straight away, there's 3 ways that you could get workspace. The first 2 don't really cost you very much at all, and then the third one is, don't forget you've got your garden as well. So there's another option, and that's without extending any of the building straight away. So again, 3 ways that you could build that workspace in.
Yeah, awesome. Another couple of questions I have is, how did you bring this shipping container bit in this?
Well, that is the mystery. That is,
right.
I do like to have a bit of mystery around that because no one knows how I got the shipping container in. Obviously, I know how I got it in there, but I think it's good to have a little bit of a mystery around that one.
Right.
It was a curveball, but suffice to say, it was if you're going to create social space, you need a couple of bits of wow factor in there. And when I work with people on the co-living revolution, I work with people over 6 months, and I share with them products, suppliers, and how they can create all the finishes, the wow factor, and everything as part of that.
Awesome. And with the dining space, so creating community, being European, I like my sitting time at the table, and I'm assuming everybody wants to have dinner together to build a community.
Yeah.
And it's very unpractical in an HMO to have a 6-bed dining table, as you were. So how do you go about this? Do you allow different surfaces so that everybody can sit in the same room but not necessarily at the same table? What's the kind of
well, I tend to put main kind of dining spaces into what we're doing so that everyone can sit around. Remember, you're only building in, so in case everyone decides it's pizza night and we all want to kind of sit down together. But remember, they won't always sit down together, but on a Friday and Saturday night, they might. So it's really important to have that there. I would try and avoid these perching benches running against the side walls and stuff because, I don't know if maybe you could get away with that in Costa Coffee, but
I don't really enjoy having my dinner looking at the wall.
No, exactly. You're facing a wall, passing the ketchup sideways down when you're doing that. So probably not not going to go well that way.
Yeah. So do you have a mixture then? Do you have like a 6-person diner, sort of table, or do you have a 4-person diner table and then maybe a bar running around?
No, I try to always make sure the main table can take everybody in the property. That's the kind of golden rule for me. You've got to have your main table take everyone in the property. Awesome. Now, don't forget, you can have a table where you can pop a couple of stools and stuff on.
Yeah. Okay, perfect.
Someone was just asking about getting an email, whether they get the email on their log. I will double check. Basically, the auto email from there. Everybody who obviously it's not going to trigger out the email straight away, guys. So everything that has that's come in that you've registered, I can see where people have registered on the on the tickets and the vouchers. So don't worry, the confirmation email will go out to everyone. Just make sure that you've registered. As soon as you're registered, you are tagged on here. I can see that everyone's tagged on there. You will get your confirmation out. That will be out by tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay.
Is the name matching with? Have you got Louise, for example, on your list as well?
Well, that's very specific. I'm finding specific.
Sorry.
I can find them there. Louise. So, for example, we'll just take one as a test, just to make sure for you. Just was it Louise? Louise Cunningham.
Cunningham.
Oh, found her. Yeah, Louise Cunningham and tags. Yeah, Louise has got the tags.
Okay, perfect.
Tags. Okay, so she's got the tags. And then what will happen is confirmation emails will all go out by tomorrow. There's a delay on the confirmation emails. They don't go out immediately that you go through.
Awesome.
I guarantee that everybody who's gone through your link, they are in the system. We just tested it with Louise. They're in the system. So don't worry, Louise. You've got everybody's in there. If you haven't got confirmation email, don't worry, you will have them by tomorrow.
Awesome. You mentioned about getting 20-30% higher rents and how it helps with valuation. And I think there's one bit that people don't tend to realize it. 20% on your rent it could be tripling your profits. If you just take your expenses would be pretty much the same. Your, let's say, standard, boring, not very co-living HMO will attract a certain profit. Maybe you'll make 10%, 15% of the rent as a profit. But when your rent increases by 20 or 30%, this is 2 times, 3 times the profit actually per month. So it's quite significant what stays in your pocket on the other side. So.
Yeah, and also you've got to keep moving it. One thing to mention about rents is that, and this is really important with a potential Labour government coming in the future, is you have to have a annual rent review. Now, it might be that each time you do a rent review, you're only adjusting very, very incremental amounts because you're right at the top of the market and you're in premium level. That's fine, but you have to create that regularity to what you're doing. And I know that that's admin. But remember, your letting agent will do it as well. But you cannot leave it. The worst thing you can do is leave it, because otherwise you can't catch up quick enough. And you certainly don't want to be dragging behind on your rent levels if there is a change of government.
Awesome. So let me have a quick look in the chat if we've got some questions. So we're asking for recording. So I said maybe a better alternative to the recording is for you're more than welcome to register to this and potentially spend the whole day with Stuart as well. So and then questions about the link, people celebrating the golden tickets, that's great. And
yeah, that celebration, which is great. Well, you guys are taking action because
the Property Filter crowd, they just go, they are going for it. They are here to find deals. So they are usually really really good on the ground doing deals and stuff like that. So when they see a good deal, they are on it.
Cool.
I'm just going through the question. I think that's okay. I had Kim message me directly asking about something. There we go.
I think John Isley wins the competition for the best office background there. Fantastic.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Hey guys.
yeah, it's proper nice. I was thinking the same, being a bit jealous.
I know. I love the kind of crystal style black frame windows going around the whole meeting room. Pretty cool.
Very nice. So a couple of questions. So we've got Rimal asking, what are the key metrics to know if a deal stacks? And I'm guessing in the context of this.
Oh yeah, that's great. Yes. Yes. There's few key reasons of why a deal stack or not. Okay. First one is going to be there's going to be the cash flow. It's going to be ROI, and it's going to be the money left in the deal. So those 3 differences. So again, it doesn't really matter. You can work out. And for example, just to come back to that again, you've got your cash flow, the ROI, and the money left in the deal. Okay, so then you look back at your refurb and you work out, well, okay, am I over refurbing this property? Is it that my refurb is too high? Am I paying too much for the property? It will all come out on those 3 numbers. Okay, so those metrics become really, really important. You can play around with the purchase price. You can play around with the refurb. You can do less works. You can reconfigure the building slightly differently. But the three indicators is cash flow, ROI, and money left in. People always forget about the last one, money left in. And they go, oh, it's hit my ROI. Cash flows, £1,000. Yeah, I'm good to go. Oh, I didn't want to leave that much money in. So again, all 3 of those are the factors that decide whether you buy property.
Kim has got a very good question as well. And I don't know if we we will have time to fully go into the detail. This is very much one that could be great for one of your deal clinics. I've got a question about larger HMOs. We applied for sui generis for our current projects. Building control were involved and forwarded to Fire Authority reference BCA technical guidance note 28, which requires fire lobbies in bedrooms. Have you experienced that?
No, none of the towns and cities I'm operating sui generis in have needed those. No.
So I had something a bit similar with an architect drew up plans for me like this, and I said, "What are you doing?" And say, "Oh, I'm following some legislation or some guidance." And I said, "Well, all the other HMOs we never had to do this," and then we sort of scrapped it, and it was fine. So I don't know how good of an advice this is, but I've not had the issue personally with this, other than being exposed to this. Maybe Zelus architect who used to do flats, blocks of flats, and was trying to bring this forward in the HMOs. I know there are specific HMO guidance for fire regulations.
I mean, most of my sui generis ones obviously have grade A interlinked fire systems, emergency lighting systems. So it's only my smaller ones that have grade D, but all my larger ones have grade A in there.
Okay. Cool. Then a couple of questions and we'll wrap up. So Gary is asking, Jane is asking, is there any areas in the UK where co-living HMOs wouldn't work?
Hello, Jane. I know Jane. Is there any areas it wouldn't work? Well, co-living HMO, let's think about what they are for a moment. Co-living HMOs are basically high quality HMOs. Okay, you kind of got your vanilla stock, which let's be honest, is not particularly inspiring. So not particularly an emotional purchase, it's a functional purchase. Then you got your high quality stock. So the question is really, does high quality work in any town or city? Well, most, yes, because any market is going to have people that, it depends if you're in an area which is just, if you've got an area where it's mainly kind of like DSS and everything else, then obviously there's still going to be a market for high quality as well, but you might have a smaller market. So again, understanding demographics, understanding investment in the area, connectivity in the area, and all those kind of things is really important. But yes, I've personally mentored and worked with people creating co-living HMOs all over the UK. So there's loads of different places that it works. Remember, we are talking about high quality here. Is there a market for high quality in the market?
Awesome. And then Gary, can you go through commercial valuation calculation rather than bricks and mortar calculation?
Well, with Gary, if you're coming along to the one day, we'll go into that in detail. But just to kind of, the main important thing with commercial valuation, obviously we haven't got time to go through the mechanics of that. I'll do that on the one day. But the real benefit of bricks and mortar and investment valuations and commercial valuations, as they're sometimes called as well, is that one is working on comparables and bricks and mortar, plus a layer of what we call plus, because there's a bit more. It's not just bricks and mortar, there's a little bit of plus. And then you've got, for example, where you're calculating based on a multiplier. So like I say, on the whole maths behind it, I've got several slides on the maths of how it works, but that's on the discovery day. So obviously if you're coming on discovery day, we'll go through that in more depth there. But really the benefit of doing that is because if you are in certain areas and you switch between bricks and mortar and the investment model valuation model, then you will see that there's actually quite a jump. And actually your ability to jump from one to the other is the difference of money coming out of the deal. So again, I think of investment valuations as just a tool. They're a tool. And it's part of what I call a refinance strategy. And again, another little top tip for your customers and as well is that I don't always go for the cheapest mortgage deal. I strategically choose the right lenders with the right valuers in the right models, if that makes sense. So I'm strategically choosing who I want to work with based on the surveyors that I know that they work with on their panel. And for example, obviously I want the rates to be low, of course I do, but remember, there's another part to the strategy that's not just rates. And it's a part of understanding how different valuers, different surveyors work and operate and which ones give the best kind of like ways to calculate.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Stuart. Any closing thoughts, closing sentiment?
Closing sentiment, yeah, absolutely. Which is, in 2024, just use this time. We're in a buyer's market now. I know that we're feeling the pain of the peak pain point I mentioned earlier on, but remember, this is this is the year to be going out there and looking at this stuff. Use this opportunity. Okay, we know that interest rates are likely to come down, and that's probably going to be later at the end of this year. If you are thinking of getting into HMOs, if you're starting to use property filter, and you're starting to kind of like use the filters, take action this year, because you will kick yourself in 25 if you haven't taken action in this year.
Stuart, thank you so much. Thank you all of you for joining us today on today's Deal Finder Corner. Visit propertyfilter.co.uk and log on to your Property Filter account. Get go through the deal blueprint, define your goldmine area, engage with motivated sellers, asset properties in seconds, load your pipeline and do deals. Also, do check out the Co-Living Revolution offer we had today and pick your date with Stuart. Have an endless supply of deals. Join the top 1% of property investors out there. I hope you enjoyed today's Deal Finder Corner, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you so much. Have a very good day. Thank you, Stuart.
Guys.
Really appreciate it.
Bye.